Стримим Different Games. Всем привет. Стримим Different Games. Надеюсь, все принесли вкусняшки под стримчик. Стримим Different Games. Ведь сегодня у нас игра The Stanley Parable. Килограмм мандаринов. Привет, я в игру опять играю. Стримим Different Games. О, привет, Манес. Стримим Different Games. Ты в игре теперь безвылазно что ли рекорд набиваешь у? Стримим Different Games. Какой рекорд уже? Хвастаться будешь о? Ха. Килограмм мандаринов. Стримим Different Games, да? Я упертый, однако. Стримим Different Games. Ха. Заисись шифонера. Ого, кто тут есть? Килограмм мандаринов. Стримим Different Games, пока не скажу, сейчас доиграю и скажу. Стримим Different Games. Красава, обобряю. Килограмм мандаринов. Заисись шифонера, здорово, заяц. Заисись шифонера. Привет, Манес. Стримим Different Games. Привет, заяц. Прикатил холодос поближе. Ха. Заисись шифонера. Как успехи? Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка. Килограмм мандаринок. Заисись шифонера, успехи потихоньку. Заисись шифонера. Сразу волосинки дергать начал обобрею. Стримим Different Games. Ну что ж, погнали. Заисись шифонера.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Килограмм мандаринок.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Килограмм мандаринок. Ода, есть пробитие. Стримин Different Games. Я скольжу карычха. Заисись шифонера.
Спасибо, манес, прям вовремя, блин, я аж чихнул.
Стримин Different Games. Манес, я смотрю, ты уже оценил возвращение легендарной команды Х.
Килограмм мандаринок. Стримин Different Games Ога.
Заисись шифонера.
Красава, гамес, обобряю. Килограмм мандаринок. Одеяло. Килограмм мандаринок. Снежок. Килограмм мандаринок. Барсук.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Заисись шифонера.
Красава, манес, обобряю, сам себе спел же. Килограмм мандаринок.
Stanley went around touching every
Но
little
удачи.
thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the
Заисись
story in
шифонера.
any way.
Гамес, он у тебя банку спер 3-литровую.
When Stanley came to a
Заисись
set of
шифонера.
two open
Я
doors,
так и
he
понял,
entered the
манес.
door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me.
Заисись шифонера.
I'm asking
Классно,
for
гамес,
her.
обобряю.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from
Заисись
the
шифонера.
platform
Ты
and
всегда так
plunged to
двери
his death.
открываешь пером, да.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Заисись шифонера.
Спасибо, Найт.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
This is Шифонера. Классный кабинет, однако,
really
обобрели.
still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a
This is
reason for
Шифонера.
exploring it
Ты
to
чего
find
там
out.
зарядку
But
делаешь,
it
что ли,
didn't even occur
Гомес?
to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path.
This is Шифонера.
Maybe
Так
when
это
you
твой
go talk about
спортзал,
this
что
with
ли?
your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
This is Шифонера. Красава,
Well, I've
Гомес
come to a very
обобрел
definite
концовку.
conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer
This is
is
Шифонера.
dead.
И Найт
They
тоже
have fallen
обобряет.
prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
This is Шифонера. Гомес, тоже там танцуешь, что ли? This is
second
Шифонера.
player. It's good to
Go
have you on
дальше.
board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Зайси с шифонера, а то у меня холодос тоже танцевать взялся, блин.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an
Зайси с
explanation.
шифонера.
His
Красавому
co-workers weren't
обобляю.
actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so
Зайси с
lucid?
шифонера.
And
И
then perhaps
предложил
the
писать
strangest
капсом.
question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran. All of his co-workers
This is
were gone.
шифонера.
What could it
Крутяк.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting
Килограмм
room.
мандаринов.
Life without having
Волосинка.
experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so
Килограмм
bad at following
мандаринов.
directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about
This is
nothing but
шифонера.
you all
Крутяк,
this
Манес, у тебя
time.
опять получилось
There's
обогреть.
someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Oh,
Someone you forgot. Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
This is шифонера.
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's
This
out
is
there? You want to
шифонера.
find out what
Назло им.
lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far.
This is
Tell you
Шифонера.
what,
ПЖД це,
let me take
блін,
a
он
stab in the
написал
dark at a
спецом
new
для него.
design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Стриминг Different Games. Майонез, уговорил, сможешь перепрыгнуть зайца по очкам в игре, сделаю тебя модером на канале. Стриминг Different Games. Как будем оценивать третий варианту?
Ха. This is Шифонера. Ну блин, фигу.
Килограмм мандаринок. Стриминг Different Games, поняв.
This is Шифонера. Очень понравилось.
Стриминг Different Games.
Aha! You see, I
Okay.
knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know
This
the
is
game
Шифонера.
needed a third
Макс,
door?
ставлю.
Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
This is Шифонера. Крутяк, доска рекордов. This is Шифонера. Ага.
Стриминг Different Games. Как вам доска рекордов?
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect.
This is
Let me boot it
Шифонера.
up.
5.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
This is Шифонера. Когда це, блін?
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Килограмм мандаринов. Волосинка. Стримим Different Games. Необычно, играя в одну игру, попасть в другую игруха.
Oh, no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly, block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing, that big, open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. yes. Oh, goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more.
Зависит с
I'm
шифонера. Прилетит по
insatiable.
лбу мало не покажется.
More balls! Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right. Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. We still have so much...
Зависит с шифонера. Правильно, что свалил. Зависит с шифонера. Школа Медвежда.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it, down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to
Зависит
tell
с
him.
шифонера.
He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Зависит с
he entered the
шифонера.
door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Зависит с шифонера. Заисись Шифонера.
Красава, на лифте тоже покататься надо же обогреть.
Заисись Шифонера. Тем более под музычку. Заисись Шифонера. Опять туда же вернулся.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Whoops, nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's
Заисись
office?
Шифонера.
Well, that's a great
Оригинально.
question. I just can't wait to find out. Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat. Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this? Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go
This is
back up in
Шифонера.
the elevator.
Красава.
I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me. Oh my God, it's the boss's office. This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
This is Шифонера. Опять.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No! No, wait! No! I need more time to process.
This is Шифонера. Найту тоже понравилось.
All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
This
Of
is
course.
Шифонера.
Going
Идеальный
back down
кусок
the
для паузы.
elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is, a breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling that has grown stale and repetitive.
This is Шифонера. Отлично, Муго, быстрее мы тебя ждем.
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow? There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know, Stanley, it seems like nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started. But where's the tension? Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate, and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years, and it's really all because of you. You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley, because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model, you know? People look up to you. Which is why, oh, I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you so that you can talk
This
about
is
your work
Шифонера.
and your
Точняк.
storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better. Oh good, we're here. Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
Килограмм мандаринок.
Зэс из шифона раскинул рекорд тебе волс в Дискорд.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door.
Зэс из шифонера. Уже что ли?
All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry. You'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for you. Go get them.
Зэс из
All of his
шифонера.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley
Зэс
came
из
to a set
шифонера.
of two open
Блин,
doors,
неужели у
he
тебя
entered the door on
получится?
his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any
Килограмм
human life.
мандаринок.
What could
Зэс
it
из шифонера реалии
mean?
столько
Stanley
набил,
wondered
без
aloud
шуток.
to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad
Килограмм
behind the boss's
мандаринок.
desk. What could
56
its
копеек
purpose
рекорд.
be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
Зэс из
Stanley happened
шифонера.
to input
Не
the
верю
correct
глазам, и
code
там
by
безвылазно
sheer
сидел,
luck.
что ли.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word
Килограмм
escape written on
мандаринок.
it, the truth
Зэс из
was that
шифонера,
at the
да,
end of
я
this
упорно
hall,
сидел.
Stanley would
Даже на
meet his
стрим не
violent
отвлекался,
death.
только пару волосин на удачу дергал.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted
Килограмм
effort to walk
мандаринок.
forward
Ну что, я
and
побил
willingly
рекорд.
confront
Или
his
этого
death.
мало? Заисись шифонера. Ага,
Так тебе волосинки помогли, что ли?
Стримин Different Games. Офигеть, Манес, я тебя поздравляю, зря мы в тебя не верили, ха.
заисись шифонера. Охереть, Манес. Блин.
Килограмм мандаринок.
Стримин Different Games, ахахахах, спасибо, сам в шоке с себя.
Заисись шифонера. Ага, гамес, ага, вот-вот.
Стримин Different Games. Все, Манес, принимай подгон. Килограмм мандаринок. О, спасибо, однако.
Заисись шифонера. Пантанус тогда за тебя, Манес.
Килограмм мандаринок. Стримин Different Games. Стримин Different Games. Поздравляю, Манес. Стримин Different Games. Манес, теперь ты можешь постоянно дергать лотерею и при этом все равно не обнуляться.
Заисись шифонера. Красава, Манес, красава.
Килограмм мандаринок. Стримин Different Games, понятно.
Заисись шифонера.
Ага, теперь ты как я тоже мажором в уши обобряю.
Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка.
As the machine whirred into motion, and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley
Заисись
can't see
шифонера.
Короче, понял,
He
да,
doesn't know
что много слов,
travels together in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant,
Заисись
Stanley was
шифонера.
obliterated as the
Лотерея.
machine crushed every bone in his body,
Килограмм
killing
мандаринок.
him instantly.
Лотерея. Streaming different games. Ого, поздравляю. Streaming different games. Ща выдам.
This is Шифонера. Красава, Манес постарался же, ободрил.
And
Streaming
yet it would
different
be just a
games.
few minutes before
Всё,
Stanley
выдал.
would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What
This is
exactly
Шифонера.
did the narrator think he
Аплодисменты
was going to
Манезу.
accomplish?
Килограмм мандаринок. This is Шифонера, и теперь рулетка не может меня убить, замутить. This is Шифонера.
Ну да?
Streaming different games. Угумха.
Килограмм мандаринок. This is Шифонера, да? Всем выиграл престиж.
Streaming different games. This is Шифонера рулетка, теперь тебя нагло игнорить будет просто.
When every path you can walk has
Килограмм
been
мандаринок.
created for you long in
Волосинка.
advance, death becomes meaningless.
This is
making love
Шифонера.
Красава, Найт. Обобряю.
Streaming different games. Манес, я тебе написал ха. Streaming different games. И кстати, Манес, теперь у тебя будет по 1000 баллов канала как у мобила. Ты теперь сможешь постоянно дергать гифки. Streaming different games. Красава, Найт. Поздравляю.
This is Шифонера.
Красава, Найт. Обобряю.
Килограмм мандаринок. Streaming different games Паянов, просто я пока накопил 2,7 тысячи только. Килограмм мандаринок. Поняв. This is Шифонера.
Красава, Манес. Обобряю.
Streaming different games. Кстати, Манес, а ты какие гифки в последнее время пробовал тоже?
This is Шифонера. Срочную зарядку для всех холодов. This is Шифонера. Килограмм мандаринок. Streaming different games Viable. Килограмм мандаринок. Вот. Килограмм мандаринов. Здесь из шифонера. Красава маня, мне тут очень нравится. Стримим Different Games. Сколько там уже набежало баллов? Килограмм мандаринов. Стримим Different Games 3,3 копейки. Здесь из шифонера. Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка. Стримим Different Games. Манес, твоя задача ща дергать почаще гифки, и тогда я тебе смогу больше выбить баллов.
Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Здесь из шифонера. Вот-вот. Здесь из шифонера. Красава манес обогрев. Стримим Different Games. Блин, какая-то гифка не работает. После стрима налажу. Здесь из шифонера. Пасик найт прям вовремя чувств манеры. Здесь из шифонера. Ничего бывает. Здесь из шифонера. Классно танцует манес обогрев.
Килограмм мандаринов. Спасибо. This is Шифонером. Обожаю эту музычку из котовства.
Where were all of his co-workers?
This is Шифонером.
Oh, I don't know.
Скрины разных версий
They're throwing
предметов
Where
начальства.
were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his buttons? Then he pushed the number 4.
This is Шифонером. Красава, момент, даже не верится, что ты теперь тоже в нашей команде модеров. This is Шифонером. И тоже мажор. Килограмм мандаринов. This is Шифонера, да.
Стримим Different Games. Кстати, Манес, теперь как у модера у тебя всего 3 задачи, с которыми ты несомненно справишься. Стримим Different Games. Стримим Different Games. Дергай клипки, когда в чате никто не пишет, либо пишет. Стримим Different Games. Стримим Different Games. Дергай команду, чтобы показать остальным зрителям, что они на канале есть. Стримим Different Games. Стримим.
Oh my god.
Стримим Different Games. Банить балбесов, которые заходят бздуть фигню и уходят, ха. Стримим Different Games. В общем, ты все понял.
Килограмм мандаринов. Streaming Different Games, да понял.
Заисищи Конора.
Каниш понял, да ничего тут непонятного, как вид минус.
Заисищи Конора.
Липка княже.
Заисищи Фонора.
Манес, я, Карыч, присоединяюсь к тебе с танцами, ага.
Заисищи Фонора.
Килограмм мандарина. Тут еще долго гифки будут висеть.
Заисищи Фонора.
Ага, ты всегда видел тебя.
Заисищи Фонора.
Блин, аж мимо сбегать собрался.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Don't choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let
Заисищи Фонора. Да?
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather. Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Стриминг Different Games. Ладно, сегодня вам покажу основную концовку, а в следующий раз будем другие варианты пробовать.
Coming to a
Streaming
staircase,
different games.
Stanley walked upstairs to
Красава,
his
Манес,
boss's office.
ободряю.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take, too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope? But Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Килограмм мандаринов. Одеяло.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
This is шифонером. Красава, Манес, ободряю. Килограмм мандаринов. Волосиста.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Килограмм мандаринов. Одержимый.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers, the lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of
This is шифонером. Где Манес там достает. This is шифонера. Еще и хвостом размахался бы.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe it couldn't be true. Had Stanley been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? It was the proof, the heart of the operation, controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this present. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Килограмм мандаринов. Волосинка.
Practice, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
This is Шипонера. Павлинков сейчас могу.
Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine! Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine?
This is Шипонера. Манес, я, короче,
В честь тебя нового модера там танцую.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness.
This is
Perhaps his
Шипонера.
goal had not
Зацени
been
сам.
to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life lives, it will be his. And that was all he did.
Килограмм мандаринов.
It was
This is
perhaps
Шипонера.
the
Обогрею, однако.
Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, immense possibilities that moved hard before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that
This is Шипонера. Красава, Манес, красава, обогрею. Стримим Different Games.
Stanley wasn't known.
На КНЦ мы увидели оригинальную хорошую концовку.
To himself, this is what I wanted all along. I got what I wanted. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
This is Шипонера. This is Шипонера. А то Манес. Танец
And to
потанцуем
his
свою
disintegration, realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want. Like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a
This is
man
Шипонера. Манес, ты от радости прыгать взял сюда.
considered so new tool will become quite unbearable. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Килограмм мандарин.
Здесь из шифонера так я пропадаю иногда счастливо.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка. Килограмм мандаринок. Усы. Здесь из шифонера. Понял, манис понял.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable
Килограмм
Ultra
мандаринок.
Deluxe.
Одержимость.
As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Килограмм мандаринок.
Oh, well, this
Подушка.
sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Стриминг Different Games. Ого, привет, генерал.
General Victoria, а это игра про Стэнли, прикольно.
Килограмм мандаринок. Виктория, приветики. Стриминг Different Games. А мы тут вместе со Стэнли сюжетку изучаем, уже успели в симулятор пожарных, а поиграть и Джайо в Рокет Лигуха.
Okay, so
Здесь
far
из
it's an
шифонера.
epic.
Ого,
Nothing
генерал,
special
а
yet,
мы
but
думали,
I'm
что
sure
тебе
it's
дико
just the
некогда.
beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, there we go. All right, finally,
Здесь
at
из
long
шифонера.
last, it's on
Генерал,
to the
поздравь
new
Манеза, он
content.
теперь
I've
в нашей
never been
команде
more
модеров.
ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if
Здесь из
the...
шифонера.
Oh,
Мы тут
okay.
танцуем в его
Let's see
честь
the
однако.
content. Give me the content, Stanley.
General
Alright.
Victoria,
Alright, let's
ого,
see it.
поздравляю,
The
Майонез.
jump circle?
General Victoria, да рекорд побрил.
This is Шифонера.
Он умудрился за короткое время побить рекорд, чем заслужил наше почтение, однако.
Is that it? Surely that's not
Килограмм
all
мандарин.
content. There
Дженерал
has to be
Виктория,
something
да
else,
спасибо.
right?
Теперь у меня есть оружие ближнего боя.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
This is Шифонера.
This is new
Панкую за тебя
content, and I
на
could
место.
just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content.
Килограмм
And
мандарин.
oh wait,
This is Шифонера, у меня баллы.
very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for
Килограмм
whatever it
мандарин.
is.
Волосинка. Стримим Different Games. Ща накидаю монес. Теперь будет проще, а то ты раньше редко дергал. Килограмм мандаринок. Дженерал Виктории, да, в Дискорд скинул рекорд. Килограмм мандаринок.
This is Шифонера за 3 дня вроде управился.
This is Шифонера.
Красава монес, красава волосинки, на удачу тебе явно помогают же.
Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка.
Oh my God.
General Виктория, ого-го, поздравляю, Эндрю. Это же умутиться надо, как вчера выяснилось, ты у нас еще какой везунчик остался, кстати.
Килограмм мандаринок. Дженерал Виктории нет. Килограмм мандаринов.
Я не любитель хвастаться на самом деле.
General Виктория, но это зря, все свои же.
This is Шифонера.
Красава, генерал, классно танцуешь в памперсах, обобрел.
Стримим Different Games. Ну все, монес выдал, проверяй.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. You're still with me. Why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks, just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Отлично, постепенно набьются про с гифками, чаще пользуйся, Манес.
Remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the price and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little thing. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something.
Килограмм мандаринов. Лотерея. За тысячи Конора. Офигеть, разрабы намудрили тут. Килограмм мандаринов. Полотилка. За тысячи Конора. Ну прикольно, прикольно. Килограмм мандаринов. Одеяло. Стримим Different Games. Ща будет Манес.
General Victoria, Виктор 6 LOL.
Стримим Different Games. Все, Манес, готово. Килограмм мандаринов. Подушка. Килограмм мандаринов. Снежок. Здесь из щифонера. Красав монет свои выдернутые волосинки реально помогают, однако делать книжку куда. Килограмм мандаринов. Волосинка. Килограмм мандаринов. Здесь из щифонера, да надо почаще дергать.
And over here is where I keep reviews for the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from DestructBoy.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "We're so many games that aspire to be more than games, end up less than any form of art. Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even a Stanley Parable anymore. It's a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content. Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
General Victoria, лотерея.
These were simpler times,
General
Stanley,
Victoria,
but I wouldn't give to go
лотерея.
back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on.
Здесь из
I
щифонера.
don't recall this
Правильно,
part of
монет
the
парня
memory zone
меня
before.
ободрил.
What's this? What's down here?
General Victoria, а все вместе, Руми.
Килограмм мандаринов. Снежок. Стриминг Different Games. Сейчас выдам. Килограмм мандаринов. Лотерея. Здесь из щифонера. Красава, генерал Красава ободрил. Килограмм мандаринов. Снежок. Стриминг Different Games. Все, выйду. Проверяйте. Килограмм мандаринов. Лотерея.
Oh no, God no, Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from
Килограмм
Steam,
мандаринов.
the online
Лотерея.
video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collected down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Здесь из щифонера. Красава, манес, красава. Стриминг Different Games. Все, монет, выдал. Здесь из щифонера. Ободряю. Килограмм мандаринов. Спасибо.
With his humor and
General
dialogue,
Victoria, надо
irritating
под
and
зарядку
entertaining.
по такому случаю.
Килограмм мандарин. Волоски.
Serious as well. As well as
Килограмм
one of a
мандарин.
handful of gags
Волоски.
inserted in Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insight that I can't even imagine. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I was thinking. But maybe it wasn't. Yeah. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remember.
Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка. Килограмм мандаринок. И снова в цель. Килограмм мандаринок. Волосинка. Килограмм мандаринок. Одеяло.
Стриминг Different Games. Тут реально получается в игре снова философская мысль, че люди не замечают ничего хорошего, видят топ плохое, однако ха.
Килограмм мандаринок. Снежок.
What's this one got to say?
Стриминг Different Games.
You constantly
Везде
have to
на
stop
аплу
doing
разбросаны
anything
лайки,
so
и
the
порой
narrator
лежат
can
дизлайки,
catch up
но
with his
рассказчик вид
long-winded
топ плохое.
explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes.
This is
Yes, I think
Shiffonera.
we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything
This is
for the customer,
Shiffonera.
Stanley.
Забавно.
Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been sitting is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means, but there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself. I'm kind of shocked. I do suggest we not critically. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just wait.
Килограмм мандаринов. Волосинка.
Sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on. To please step away from the skip button to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? Maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to reach? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why this is getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of this room. Stanley, the door is gone. Completely gone. I know that it's an empty place. Every one of those doors are frozen time. And there's no door there. There's no door. It's just a new button. And if you press it, I have no idea. I have no idea how long I'll be able to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it, and I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why? Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right?
Зависишь шифонера. Манес, ты опять в перебиралке сидишь, да?
Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about it.
Килограмм мандаринов. Зависишь шифонера, Ник, пока просто отдыхаю. Зависишь шифонера. Спасибо за стрим, конец прикольная игра.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They screamed, they gnashed their teeth.
Килограмм мандаринов. Волосинка. Килограмм мандаринов. Одеяло.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
Зависишь шифонера. Игра прикольная, однако обогревает.
General Виктория, правильно, Эндрю, честно выиграл рекорд. Теперь можно и порелаксировать.
Заисище Хонора. А завтра какая будет у? Секрету признайся своим модерном.
General Виктория. Ого, спасибо, Най.
Килограмм мандарина. General Виктории, да, но еще думаю, вернусь к этой игре, буду поигрывать, может и свой рекорд побью снова. Заисище Хонора. Ого, Найт красава обобрел. Килограмм мандарина. Волосинка. Килограмм мандарина. Волосинка. Килограмм мандарина. Одеяло.
General Виктория, теперь наконец никто ему подсказывать не будет, этому Стэнлди освободился.
Заисище Хонора. Гомес, срочно всем по тысе выдай. Килограмм мандаринок. Одержимость. Килограмм мандаринок. Рулет. Donation Alerts.
Килограмм мандаринок нажимает на курок.
Выстрел. И пуля пролетает насквозь, не задев жизненно важных органов. Вот это везение! Заисище Хонора. Спасибо, мне спасибо. Килограмм мандаринок. Рулет. Donation Alerts.
Килограмм мандаринок нажимает на курок.
Выстрел. И пуля пролетает насквозь, не задев жизненно важных органов. Вот это везение!
Стриминг Different Games. Срочно выдаю.
Килограмм мандаринок. Рулет. Donation Alerts.
Килограмм мандаринок, курок нажат и...
Пистолет сломался пополам.
Килограмм мандаринок чудом выжил.
Килограмм мандаринок. Вау, пистолет сломал.
General Виктория, фига даешь, аж сломал.
Заисище Хонора. Ого, манес, ну ты везунчик, блин.
Стриминг Different Games. Все выдал, проверяйте. Стриминг Different Games. Ну все, концовка пройдена.
Заисище Хонора. Спасибо, Гомес.
General Виктория, стриминг Different Games, то, что Найт всем по тысе подарил, да?
Стриминг Different Games. Ну а на такой прекрасной ноте, пожалуй, будем заканчивать. Спасибо всем, кто был с нами, надеюсь, вам все понравилось.
Заисище Хонора. Поки-пок, всем встретимся на форте.
Стриминг Different Games. Красава манесты поход Суперменха. Стриминг Different Games. Стриминг Different Games угум. Стриминг Different Games. Всем удачки и пока, жду всех на следующем стриме.
General Виктория, спасибо тогда за стрим, до форточки тогда, там столько нового.
Килограмм мандаринок. Давайте, всем удачки, однако, спасибо за стрим.
Ты заходи, если что.